Alrighty guys, what is going on? Welcome back to another video. Today we're going to talk about bait finesse fishing in Florida. So I do a lot of bait finesse fishing down here in Central Florida, and that might sound extremely counterintuitive because if you don't live in Florida, you probably think of Florida as heavy mats punching, big hollow body frogs, big weedless swim baits, and all those things are true, of course, but there are also times when you really need to finesse these fish because they are so conditioned. There's so many fishermen down here, and especially the summer months and actually the fall months, these fish get really finicky and super picky on ultra small little bait. So what I have found is bait finesse is actually kind of like my little bit of a secret weapon down here because it's something that not a lot of people are doing because there's lots of big fish. So people are thinking just throw big lures, which of course there's a time and a place for that as well. But I want to talk about the gear that I use to effectively bait finesse fish down here in Florida in these grassy ponds, because not just any bait finesse gear is going to do well for you. Okay, so let's start with the setup. So we have the most important part is the rod. This is the Dobbins 691 Sierra Ultra Finesse casting rod. So the key part is that one at the end. You need this to be the one power to do a lot of these techniques effectively that I'm going to be talking about today, okay? The one power is not really a traditional bait finesse rod in the fact that bait finesse really comes over from Japan, and it's ultra light rods for small native trout fishing, okay? So those rods are, sometimes they are fiberglass. A lot of times they'll have like a stinger tip, which means like the last little bit of the rod is just solid carbon and not tubular. This rod is not that. This rod is a true just one power. So that'd be like a light action, fully tubular, normal bass rod, okay? But it, instead of it normally being a spinning rod, is what you maybe have, in the market for the past 10 years. Now we have these options for this size of a rod as a bait casting rod. So on that, we have a Shimano Curado BFS. Again, super important. You cannot just throw any bait casting reel on this. It will not work. Okay, there's something very special about these BFS reels, and that is that the spool is super shallow and super light, which lowers the startup inertia for these very light baits and allows them just to glide as you flick them out. Okay, so on that, you cannot put a ton of like 8, 10, 12 pound line like you normally would on a normal bait caster. You need to go super thin. So on here I have Suffix 131 braid. This is 6 pound braid, which is the equivalent of like 2 pound monofilament. Super thin. It's like floss, super thin. And then a leader I tie a 5 pound Maxima Ultra Green leader. Okay, so I have a very similar setup with my normal rods that I have, but I just downsized everything. Okay, but the key thing about this rod, just like I said, it's very similar to my normal rods in the action. So all you have to do is downsize your favorite techniques down to a size where you can actually set the hook, you can cast it without overloading the rod, and then you're in business. So I want to talk about some of those baits that I have found to be extremely effective on this setup and then just this style of fishing in general. Okay, right here we have my bait finesse box. So this is a Busby 15T. This is the thin size. I love it. Can just chuck it in my little Beyond Braid bag and just head out for a short little day. So in here I have all sorts of fun little nuggets to kind of mess around with. So we're going to start up here in the top left. So right here we have small swim baits. So I have X Zone Stealth Invaders, X Zone Swammers, anything in the 275 to 3 inch range is perfect. Just pick your favorite swim bait, okay? So this pairs up with my little 1/8 ounce guppy heads, okay? And this is a 1/0 hook. So I'll throw a lot of just bare swim baits on it. This rod with a bare little guppy swim bait with a little 2.75 is just a blast. It is just perfect. It is, you can fire that thing a quarter mile. Setting the hook is effortless, and you just get so many bites. It's so much fun. If you need to add a little bit of flash to that rig, I will hook up these little jig spinners and kind of create a beetle spin of sorts. I get these off of Barlow's Tackle. This is the size 2 Colorado Silver, and I'll just hook those up to my guppy head, and then I'm in business with a little kind of like an upgraded beetle spin. That thing catches so many fish too. And then my newest addition My newest addition to my arsenal here is a Jackal Rhythm Wag. So this is the 3.5-inch version. And then I put that on a Gamakatsu 1/0 regular wire hook. So I was actually put onto this from Tactical Bassin. If you're watching this video, you've probably watched some of their videos as well. They have phenomenal bass fishing content. But I've been looking for a fluke that I can cast weightless on this for a long time, because most of the flukes this size are way too light to cast on this light action rod, because it's not an ultra finesse rod. It's still just like a light, right? This bait is very aerodynamic. It's very well weighted and salted. You can cast this thing weightless, and it is absolutely deadly on those dead calm days when you just see those cruising fish and they just won't eat anything else. They will eat that every time. And then right here we've got, you know, an assortment of, I got some wacky hooks. I've got an assortment of weights, so free rig weights, nail weights, etc. And then I have my hooks here, and then I have my hooks that I use for Nico rigging and weightless wacky rigging here. And then all the way on the side, we've got, this is the X-Zone Nico Zone, I believe. Just a bait that I've been messing around with. Any old finesse worm will work, any 4 or 5-inch finesse worm. I wouldn't go as big as a full-blown 5-inch Senko. Those are very heavily salted. That will overpower the rod. But anything like a Zoom finesse worm, something like that, a robo worm would be great. And I use that for wacky rigging, Nico rigging, all that kind of stuff. And then the most fun section up here, we have poppers. So with this size of a rod, I found that poppers in the 1/4 ounce range, like this Megabass Pop X, or this guy right here. This is a Cultiva, owner Cultiva Gobo popper. Anything in that kind of range is going to be money for this. You don't want to go too light on this rod. There are lighter rods that I have that do that better. But for this specific rod, especially you're fishing in Florida, a little bit bigger fish, a 1/4 ounce popper loads up that rod perfect. It casts effortlessly. And then, man, it just gets so many bites. And it is so much fun to fish this stuff. If you are living somewhere where you don't think bait finesse applies to you, I promise you, you are so wrong. You should really give it a try. Just get a budget rod, a budget reel. If you can afford this rod, I would recommend this rod. And if you can't afford this reel, I would get something like a Cast King Zephyr, I believe is a pretty comparable bait finesse reel. That is a bit cheaper as well. But if you are thinking that this doesn't apply to you, I promise you, you'll have so much fun bringing it out to your local pond. You'll catch so many more fish. You'll be surprised in certain seasons that you'll actually catch really big fish. I've noticed for me, late summer, right now, fall, this stuff actually catches really solid bites, 2, 3, 4 pounders, because those fish are keyed in on that really small bait that a lot of times we just don't have imitations for on our standard gear. Now, if you guys are in the market for a new fishing hat, I recommend you go this direction. This is the Film Clothing patch hat. Okay, they call it the patch hat because, well, you can take off a patch, you can add a patch, you can put on whatever you want. It's a ton of fun. A little bit of Daiwa action. Boom, done. Take it off. Maybe you want just a plain black hat, go plain black hat. Or maybe you want just a little bass, okay? But the point is, it's fun. You can customize it. You can put any patches that you find anywhere. Just throw some Velcro on the back, chuck it on there. It's a ton of fun. They have patches available on their website as well. But not only that, this hat is extremely useful and functional for fishing because of 2 things. These air breathing holes back here, so your head doesn't get super sweaty. And then also the material is super water wicking. The water will just kind of go right off, whether you're caught in rain or you're just drenched in sweat. It is quick drying, so it doesn't get as nasty. You can also just chuck it in the washer. I've done that a couple times. Comes out perfectly, no problems at all. I promise you guys, if you try this hat, you will not be disappointed. This is now the only hat that I go fishing with. None of my normal material, like cotton hats, I cannot wear them anymore. It's like disgusting after I wear this hat. Give it a try. I'll have a link in my description if you want to check it out. I would appreciate that. Anyway, guys, I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope you got a little bit of insight into some bait finesse fishing, maybe on more of the American side. I know a lot of bait finesse fishing seems ridiculous and like ridiculously small and stuff that I would never use. But I found that this is kind of the sweet spot where, man, this really has application for bass fishing, genuinely, not just for fun, but actually for function as well. I hope you guys found that in the video. Maybe give it a try. If you have tried bait finesse and you want to let me know how it goes, let me know in the comments. In the meantime, guys, please like and subscribe. Stay tuned for more videos. I appreciate it. Have a good one.